Hi all, and welcome to Data Lens, the short series where we talk about market research in the outdoor hospitality industry. Today, I'm here with Scott Barr, the president of Cairn Consulting Group. With over 35 years of market research experience, Scott has a wealth of knowledge to share, and I'm here to ask him the questions that you want to know. So, let's hop in. On today's episode, we'll be talking about going deeper, why in-depth interviews are a game changer for your business. So, out the gates, Scott, any initial questions or things you want to point out?
In-depth interviews are a tool in the arsenal. They're one of the most easily executable things that you can do. And just like the description implies, this is a way to really dig into different topics with guests and customers and maybe even business associates. So it's something that I think pretty much any business could benefit from.
Definitely. And I think that, in-depth interviews as a general rule, well, actually, let's start there. What are in-depth interviews and how are they different from, say, surveys?
In-depth interviews are, as the name implies, it's a long form interview. It's typically, it can be range from either highly structured to even more of a casual type of conversation, but they're designed to dive into a topic or maybe a couple topics even, and really dig into it in a way that you cannot in a survey. Surveys are designed to quantify things. That is, we're counting things, we're looking at percentages and so on. In-depth interviews are not designed to do that. You do not use in-depth interviews to make projections. You do not use them to measure your satisfaction. If you're using measure in the description, you shouldn't be doing in-depth interviews, because you're not going to really measure anything. What you're going to do is identify, you're going to explore, you're going to dig into, but you're really not going to measure. So, excuse me, I know some people do to a degree, but in my experiences, it's not it can be misleading. So, for example, you may only do 20 in-depth interviews, to dig into a topic, which is an adequate number. But do you want to say, based on those 20 interviews, that 80% of the people said this? That's 16 people that you might be basing the decision on, if you're quantifying it that way. So, again, these are highly developmental approaches, and again, not designed for, measurement.
No, that makes a lot of sense. It's kind of like the difference between qualitative research and quantitative research. Essentially,
Exactly.
It's like surveys are like the key tool for quantitative research and looking at like the numbers and the percentages, whereas like qualitative is more like diving into it's like full experience and segmenting people based on like that more deeper level. Essentially, what I'm getting. Cool.
Yes.
Awesome. So for businesses, when should they use in-depth interviews?
All the time.
All right.
It's if you're doing a research process, and that is you're doing a full-blown research initiative that may have, you have a fairly large budget for that. You may have you may want to, and maybe you've never done research before. So what you might do is start off with some interviews before you do anything else. And those interviews, in many cases, will help you write your questionnaire. You'll figure out the language, the topics that you might use in your survey that you're going to follow up with. So many people like to do the in-depth interviews, the qualitative work up front. Again, for those purposes, it helps you build what you're going to do in your survey. It could be a focus group too, by the way. But in this case, the IDIs are, again, a way to do that. Now, again, depends on your situation and where you're at in the process. Sometimes you might need to follow up a survey with some IDIs. I'm going to use IDI from here on out and say it instead of saying in-depth interview, by the way, just for ease of everyone understanding what we're talking about. So, for example, you may do a survey and something unexpected comes out of the survey, something you didn't anticipate, and you're like, well, what do? We don't understand enough about this answer that people are giving us here. We need to dive into that. And so then what you can do is go out and ask people about that topic. It may be one simple answer. For example, I've done surveys before where we thought we had a really good response list to a question, but a huge number of people said other. And if you have a large proportion who give just other, a non-specific answer, then you had something in your questionnaire you didn't anticipate it. There's something going on there, and you need to figure that out. So one of the things you can do is, even if you did use a specify with that other, you can identify those people and go out and ask them, what did you mean by this? You said other. What does that mean? What is it that you were referring to here? And you can dig into that. You can get a lot more detail. Or it may be just a follow-up in general, where you're asking people about an experience or something that happened. It's a good way, for if someone has a bad experience at your campground, you can do some interviews about that topic. When maybe you see it in a survey or something, they said, this wasn't good. Now you can go out and talk to people and not just ask them about that problem, but how do you fix it? Like, what's a good resolution? IDIs are good for problem resolution, and sometimes surveys identify problems, maybe again that you didn't anticipate. So now you can use that process for problem solving.
No, that's so interesting too, because it's like I feel like I see testimonials and like business insights all the time on, say, websites, Google, whatever. But essentially, like, those testimonials are essentially like a short form, in-depth interview, and you're kind of seeing, it's like, oh, hey, this is like what people are actually saying about your business or your problem, right?
Correct.
And that's what I'm seeing.
And the benefit there is you're getting the person's actual language, the way they speak. How they refer to things. It's real valuable in marketing to understand how people are talking. Again, the language they use, it is important. So when you're thinking about how you communicate with people, to know how they're referring to an issue is very important.
Definitely, because better you can get the close that communication gap. I feel like the better of an experience you can create for your customers. So awesome.
Absolutely.
So I guess last question here that I had for today. Man, we're cranking through. So what kinds of insights can IDIs reveal for hospitality owners and business owners in general?
Within hospitality, one of the things that the IDI can do is you can, for example, you could structure an interview that walks someone through their entire stay. From the minute, you could even start it with when they start looking for information. You can have a conversation about that process. We can do that in surveys too, and we identify that. But what you can do in IDIs is you can ask why. Why did you do that? Why? What was your background there? What prompted you to do this? And they can tell you. They can talk about it, and you can get into the why, the answer the whys there. And then, again, you can talk about, every aspect of their stay. You can get, again, qualitative, detailed information from them about that process. They can say, I was dissatisfied with check-in. Why is that? What happened? What ideas do you have to fix that? What should we have done differently? Those kinds of questions. During their stay, while they're on site, is there anything we missed? Is there anything we could have done better? What did you enjoy? What would you like to see more of that we did? Maybe there was an activity or something. Maybe they have something to offer in terms of ideas of what you could do. What kind of things would they like to have when they're staying with you? What kind of events? What kind of information? You can see as I ramble on about this that it's kind of endless. Because again, you're getting into detail. You're getting into all the details of how that person interacted with your business, whether you're in hospitality or anything else. It gives you that information in context of their stay, of what how they viewed their stay or their interaction with you, with the other guests, with your staff, and so on. So it's an incredibly powerful tool that anyone can do. You can, we'd prefer that you hired us because we're super experienced at it. We've done thousands and thousands of these, and we like the process because we're talking to people. But it's also something that you can do. And again, what I would recommend to people is do a few of these. Ask people if they could spend a few minutes talking with you. Say it's 20 minutes, a half hour. You'll be surprised how long people will talk to you. If you tell them, I want 15 or 20 minutes of your time, a lot of times you'll be there 45 minutes to an hour later and you're still talking. Because once you start, it grows and people enjoy it, and they like that you're listening to them and you're asking them good questions. Do 10, do 10 of these interviews from guests. Maybe pick some people randomly, but maybe pick some people that you've targeted. Say, I really want to talk to this person about their stay. I'd really, and you may have to, offer them something. That's what we typically do in our process. If we're doing an official study that includes IDIs, we'll reward people with a gift card or something like that. And you can do it. You can give them a T-shirt. Say we'll give you a T-shirt, a campground T-shirt for doing this, or a travel mug or something. There's things like that you can do to encourage people to do this. But it's a part of the process that, again, is something that anyone can do. It's what we would call accessible research, because you could start doing it today. You could literally start calling people and asking them questions, or walk around your campground and talk to people, have a bag of T-shirts with you, and just start talking to people. So yeah, it's a great process. The one thing I would recommend too is, if you are going to do them on your own, write down the questions that you want to ask and that you want to cover. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be scripted, but just identify the things that you'd like to learn from someone, because what can happen again is you'll end up getting sidetracked, like I always do. And you have to have something to get you back on track. Figure out what you want to ask that person. In most cases, people will answer all your questions with one good prompt. You'll get all the answers that you need. They'll start talking and they'll answer things for you. But do that process. I think you'll enjoy it. It's a lot of fun, and it's actually great for your business.
Thanks, Scott, again, and that was all I had for today. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today for another episode of Data Lens from Cairn Consulting Group. I'm Justin Barr, here with Scott Barr, the president, and today we covered going deeper, why in-depth interviews are a game changer for your business. Don't forget to leave a comment or a question for next week's episode. Hit that like button if you like what you see, and as always, subscribe so you never miss out. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Bye.